In this video, we'll discuss transitioning your in-person learning activities to an online format. Compared to in-person teaching, online teaching requires you to prepare much more than you would if you were going to be present with the students in a classroom. Your real-time presence allows you to read the room to get a sense, to some extent, of what students are thinking and feeling. For example, you can explain slides or content that they may not understand. You can jump into a discussion or small group activity if needed. In online learning, you can be this engaged with students, but it happens in a somewhat different format, and it takes planning in conjunction with using the technologies available to us at the University of Washington to do it effectively. Canvas is the learning management system that serves as a primary conduit for learning and course materials. It is used for asynchronous, or not in real-time interaction in between real-time classes. Zoom is the primary technology used for real-time, synchronous interaction occurring at the designated course time. Canvas can house all of your recorded lectures, as well as all learning activities such as readings, discussion forums, assignments, quizzes, and resources. Canvas is also a way for you to engage with students through announcements. Zoom serves in the same way as your in-person classroom might, as a space for real-time lectures from you or guest speakers, class discussions, or group activities through the breakout room feature. Let's discuss how to adapt common in-person activities to be online. There are two ways to present lectures. One is to record the lectures in advance and put them into Canvas, or give them live through Zoom. Long lectures delivered in Zoom may be challenging for students. 2 or 3 hours is a long time for students to be online, and they may feel disengaged if they are passively learning for much of that time. In this case, consider pre-recording, for example in Zoom, some of your lecture content and asking students to view them before coming to class. Then you could use the real-time sessions for more active learning activities. For example, you could ask the students to come to Zoom sessions with any questions or thoughts they may have from the pre-recorded lecture. Delivering lectures in Zoom is especially good for content that might be sensitive or challenging for students to understand. You could use the chat or the raise hand features during the lecture to elicit questions or reactions from the students to make the lecture more engaging. At the beginning of your lectures, consider using an icebreaker or insert polls throughout your lectures to keep the students engaged. If the lecture is long, ensure there are a sufficient number of breaks or more pauses than you might normally have in a classroom setting. This allows for questions from students, as it may be hard for you to read facial expressions as in an in-person course. Discussions are another common activity in classroom settings. Consider what discussions make sense to do asynchronously in Canvas versus synchronously in Zoom. In Canvas, students can interact with each other through the discussion forums. If the discussion involves a lot of complexity, you could create a threaded discussion to allow for more depth. If you have a large class, it may be more appropriate to hold discussions in Canvas rather than in Zoom so that more students can share their thoughts. You could even break the large class into smaller discussion groups in Canvas. It may also be a great forum for increasing participation, especially among students who don't feel comfortable talking in front of a real-time group. One of the most common issues we heard from faculty was that it was very difficult to get students to talk in a large group discussion on Zoom. In an online environment where students cannot as easily see what others are thinking or feeling, they may feel uncomfortable speaking up in a large group. Instead, we recommend planning the discussion to be more structured. For example, you might consider asking students to jot down one thought or question to bring up in the discussion, and let them know that some of them will be expected to share these. Breaking the larger group into smaller groups in Zoom breakout rooms and appoint a facilitator to get the discussion going. Starting the discussion session with a few polling questions or an icebreaker to quickly engage students in the content. Reserving Zoom time for discussing difficult concepts or content that is sensitive or controversial. Group work, another common activity in classes, can successfully be done synchronously or asynchronously. Canvas has features for creating small group collaboration and features that allow groups to schedule meetings with each other, post to discussion forums, and upload resources for each other. In Zoom, you can divide up the class into small groups in breakout rooms. You and your TA can visit these rooms to ensure that students are staying on track or to answer any questions. Students can collaboratively work on a Google document together with the Share Screen feature, if you have that enabled. Many faculty watch films and facilitate discussions about them in class. For longer films, the Canvas module pages is a great place to post links to videos from the University of Washington Library's Canopy options, or embed YouTube videos for students to watch in their own time. You can use live Zoom class time to discuss the film or use the Canvas discussion forums. Streaming films in Zoom may not be as engaging for the students. The film quality often gets degraded. There can be technical issues, and sometimes it doesn't work at all. If you are showing films in Zoom, note that this is most appropriate for shorter clips that prompt discussion rather than a longer film. Student presentations, a staple of many classes, can be done asynchronously or synchronously. Students can record themselves giving a presentation and upload a video or audio file to Canvas. It is fairly simple to add audio to PowerPoint slides. Some faculty have found that this is a great alternative to a written assignment. You can also have students give presentations during live Zoom sessions, particularly if you would like feedback from other students. If you have a large class, you could divide it into smaller groups in breakout rooms. Another common activity is assessments. Exams and quizzes are most appropriately done in Canvas, which has a quiz feature that allows for various settings depending on your instructional goals. For example, you can program multiple attempts or answer feedback. In online learning, quizzes can serve as self-checks for comprehension. Final or midterm exams can be done through a software called Proctorio. This software allows you to choose settings you would like to turn on for your exam to ensure various levels of security. Some include recording the screen, body motion, and video of the student. It can be rather invasive technology, but you can disable some of these settings. If you do plan to include it in your course, you should be communicating early and often about its use and implication to your students. There is a University of Washington IT resource page on Proctorio that may help with your questions or those of your students. Alternatively, you can also build your exam in the Canvas quiz feature and not use Proctorio. Faculty often use the timed features and randomized question order or randomized selection of questions. You may also decide to switch from a final or midterm exam to a written assignment or presentation better suited to the online environment. Lastly, office hours are an important activity, especially for online classes. Office hours can be scheduled in Canvas and done live in your Zoom room. Of course, like in an in-person class, you can use email or Canvas messaging to communicate with students for more straightforward issues. On the DGH intranet page, you will find more resources for Zoom, Canvas, and online course design. You can contact edgh@uw.edu for help or questions related to course design.